Hello, and welcome to the Backroom, where we talk about politics across the country, around New York, and right here in the Bronx. I'm Lisa Schifrin, your host. I'm a Republican speechwriter.
David Eisenbach, presidential historian.
And tonight, our guest is Michael Vass, who is a pundit and a man of many, of a varied and fascinating background. We're going to start tonight with the peace in the Middle East, the elusive peace in the Middle East that Trump seems to have actually created. Whether it stands or not is unclear, whether Hamas actually behaves and allows itself to be disarmed and allows itself to be pushed out of the governing coalition of Gaza. That is a real question. What do you think is going to happen, David?
Well, what is Hamas at this point? Right? The leadership seems to have been eliminated, and now you have factions, those who are willing to at least go along with some sort of peace. The diehards are still going strong. There are battles in the streets of Gaza. So it's still a mess on the ground, and now we start hearing that maybe the Israelis are going to go back in. So I think to call it a peace at this point, it doesn't really fit.
I would disagree, David. I think there is a real peace. One of the biggest problems, and you mentioned it, what is Hamas? Hamas is a terrorist organization. Mm-hmm. They always were. They continue to be. And this is why the two-state solution suggested by Keir Starmer doesn't work, because you can't have peace with someone who has, in their constitution and every comment they have made and in all of their actions, has tried to genocide their neighbor. Now, that is an inherent problem always. But the current situation is there is a peace. There are cells of Hamas who are continuing on that mission of genocide, which has then caused Israel to continue to react to them at the same time that Hamas is going after its own people and bombing them and killing them in the street.
They're not really their own people. They are these families, these clans that actually feel that they have the right to govern Gaza where they've lived forever. Hamas was the import. It is a terrorist organization. I agree with you totally. But it is the import. It's not indigenous the way these clans are.
Well, definitely the ideas are.
Well, but there's no controlling authority is what I'm trying to say.
Iran.
No, Iran's gone.
If you don't have a kind of a power structure where somebody's on top giving orders down below because they've been eliminated, now you have just the factions. So you could cut a deal with one group, but the other group doesn't go along with it. So it becomes an unsustainable peace. And I think this is where Israel, right? You have a peace agreement with these guys, but these guys are still killing. So you're really in a really tough position. I think that's the situation for Israel.
Well, that's why it remains to be seen what happens with countries like Qatar and Turkey, not Israel's close friends, not countries Israel should trust, but whether they come in and set up some military organization to keep a lid on Hamas.
I don't know if you can do that.
I'm not sure they want the headache either.
Well, we know historically the Middle East, we're talking Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Qatar, nobody wants them. Nobody wants that region. They've abandoned them. They don't want their refugees or anything else.
That's been going on since
the very 40s, since the beginning. So I don't see them having an active input in this. The best thing that has been effective so far has been Donald Trump, quite honestly, in that he is such a large figure with such a big stick that even the various factions are afraid that if America does get back involved, they've been hammered by the Israelis, but they're even more afraid of being hammered by the United States.
Yeah, but Trump has actually been very clear that no U.S. troops are going in. And I believe him on that, because that would be antithetical to everything he stands for. And really, that would not have a lot of support in the United States, even among supporters of Israel.
True, but there is a precedence for that, because remember, Hamas did kill 34 Americans, and then of the hostages, which were 22,
and Americans don't seem
17.
to, but Americans don't seem to care about that.
Sadly,
I think we're not capable of doing another Middle Eastern war.
Right, nor should we be.
Nor should we be.
So maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. That's where we're
That's where we're at.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
Ukraine looked kind of promising last week when Donald Trump was going to meet with Putin, but all of a sudden that disappeared today. The meeting was taken off the books.
Yeah. Well, Trump has been kind of all over the place in the last few weeks. He sent out that bizarre tweet about how Ukraine could win back all the territories back to the 1991 borders. That got Zelensky and the Ukrainians really, really excited. And then he reversed himself on that. They were promising the
Tomahawks.
Ukrainians were really hoping for the Tomahawks, right? The logistics of how those Tomahawks were going to be fired, of course, was not part of the discussion, right? And I don't think that the administration seriously considered it because, who's going to fire them?
Well, you need U.S. intelligence backing.
Military personnel firing these things. So that was not serious. And I just wish Trump would be upfront and say, no more money. We're not going to be involved in this war anymore. And that's it. You're all cut off.
While I would love for him to say that, and I think he is trying to work towards that, but he's also looking at this will be the 7th of 7 peace deals that he's done around the world. He's looking at his record in the Nobel and history. And quite honestly, I think he's earned that. And if he can do it with this situation as well, all the better, because that means more nations are looking at America as the way to get resolution for their conflicts.
But to do that, he would actually have to persuade Putin to leave without keeping half of Ukraine.
Well,
he's not leaving.
No.
Well, he is keeping half of Ukraine.
Not half, 20%.
He's got everything. He's got the farms. He's got a lot of the rare earth minerals. He's got the strategic positioning. And that's always what he wanted. Everything else is bonus. And basically, like in any war, he gets to keep what he won. So I think Trump is correct that we freeze the lines.
Zelensky is not going to give him what he may or may not have won.
Zelensky doesn't have a choice. Zelensky lost the war. This is a war of attrition, and Ukraine has already lost it. They're never going to win. The best thing that Zelensky can do, which has been one of the big sticking points this year and really pushed this entire process backwards, is he wants to get everything back.
It looks to me like the problem Trump is going to have in solving this war is that Zelensky is not going to actually give in and say, sure, take the Donbass. He's not going to say that. Whatever the reality is, he is very much stuck on not ceding any land. So
Zelensky's not going to back down.
Right, I don't think he's going to back down.
But if you cut off the money, right, Zelensky is the guy who raises the funds. As far as the real Ukraine power structure that is backing Zelensky now, they will drop him like a hot potato and they'll find somebody else. So if Trump could just cut off the funds, no more sharing of the intelligence, right, then they're going to come to the peace table.
And the first stage to getting that is going to, in setting this up, he has to appease both sides at the same time.
It's not impossible.
Which is part of why we're seeing the back and forth yo-yo and making them feel good all the time. But he's also trying to get Europe to stop pushing this false illusion that they're going to be able to support Ukraine in this conflict for the next 10 years. It's not possible. And they've already said, kind of, Keir Starmer, Macron have already said, well, they need the U.S. backing to continue to give this push.
Totally.
And they're trying to bring us into this war. Trump's trying to bring it out, and at the same time trying to keep Zelensky and Putin interested.
The takeaway is the war goes on.
The war goes on, and Putin is winning. Like you said, it's a war of attrition. And once he got to the right numbers, right, it's now the beginning of a collapse, right? A war of attrition, you can win a war of attrition without gaining much territory because it's all about killing the enemy, which he's doing. He is bleeding Ukraine dry of its youth.
He's bleeding Russia dry of its youth.
You know, the Ukrainians not even close.
They've lost 100,000 men.
That's nothing.
For Russia, that's nothing, right? But we see in Ukraine, they have changed now the rules. They're drafting 18-year-olds and they're putting them on the battlefield, and 60-year-olds. They just passed a law to bring in the 65-year-olds to fight in this war. That is not a good sign. This is like Germany in 1945. It's over.
Okay, you know what? We're going to exit foreign policy and go straight to the most basic New York State propositions, the ballot propositions.
Ballot propositions.
What is going to be on the ballot in 2 weeks when we vote?
Right. So New York City, in addition to having a mayor's race and city council races, has a number of ballot proposals, which could be very transformative to New York City. There are two of them that are pitched as pro-affordable housing. And I just want to warn everybody that when lawmakers push this as pro-affordable housing, what really this is it's big real estate that doesn't like the laws as is, that stops them from going into middle-class neighborhoods with single-family homes, low-rise neighborhoods in New York City that have been landmarked and zoned, and just getting rid of all the restrictions so that they can build their luxury towers with just a tiny percentage of affordable housing attached.
Or just as bad, take those same neighborhoods and put lots of Section 8 housing in, big high-rises, but Section 8, so you change the entire neighborhood kind of ethos. You make it from a middle-class, sustainable neighborhood that people have worked very hard and invested all their money in to a poor neighborhood with crime and and
illegal aliens. The Bronx
aliens.
is a great example of that, where we have seen that transformation. Again, this is backed by the crazy idea that they're going to have, depending on which day it is, we've heard from Cuomo and also from Mamdani. In the primary, they were talking about 500,000, 700,000 of these low-income houses. Now, in the debate, they're both saying it's 200,000. Why did that change? I don't know. Probably because it's not realistic at the higher numbers. But what did they do in the Bronx? Historically, what we have seen is they've brought in hotels. They've actually built hotels and low-income housing, filled that with illegal aliens and immigrants, and we've seen a lot of crime come in because the numbers they have just thrown into the Bronx have stressed out the system beyond breaking. We can't keep them, we can't take care of them as we would like to give them the opportunities that would give them the advances that they need. And it just hurts everyone.
We don't have the policing to keep them from committing crimes.
That as well.
And the schools. The schools get overwhelmed. And so now it decreases the quality of the education for the students. So it's too fast, too much, and it's not in the interest of affordable housing, these ballot initiatives. It is the interest of big real estate in New York City.
I think you've got one of those rare moments where all three of us agree 100%. 100%. And we're saying to you, viewers, vote no on the housing ballot proposals because you don't want more illegal aliens in your neighborhood. You don't want Section 8 housing coming into your neighborhood. You put your money and your effort into your neighborhood. Just vote no.
And if they had any guts, they would try to pass this through the city council. It would never pass the city council. In fact, this is a way of getting around the city council, our elected officials, and it disempowers the city council because when the city council says no, according to these ballot initiatives, they're able to come through another back door. So don't fall for it. Vote no.
I can agree.
Are there any other ballot proposals you want to talk about?
Well, there's one about switching the election so that our mayor's races will now coincide with presidential races.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I think that's a terrible idea.
Why so?
Because when we're too focused during presidential years on the president. Even members of Congress being elected is a secondary concern for most people.
But it is true that that you get a much bigger turnout in a presidential year.
Absolutely, but that's an embarrassment for us that they have, all of our politicians, left and right, to be fair, to varying degrees, have created so much apathy in the voter base that no one wants to come out. That's why New York we'll probably see about 38% of the electorate come out in this election for
38 would be high. You know what? We're going to go to a public service announcement, and when we get back...
We want to hear what you have to say on that one.
We're going to about...
Ballot initiative, the one switching the election date.
You know what? I kind of don't care. Like, I don't think it matters.
Well, I agree. I want New York City elections to be about New York City, not somebody riding somebody's coattails that's the head of the ticket in the running for president.
Okay, and now we're going to a public service announcement. Welcome back. So, we've got a mayor's race right here in New York. It's capturing national attention because the stakes are so high, and the problem is so big because the guy who is the front runner, Zohran Mamdani, is such a terrible candidate. He's a jihadist and a communist.
Oh, no, come on.
There you go. There you go.
Oh. I mean, if you're going to go after him on the policies, not on these accusations.
Well,
But
this week he was caught with he embracing a guy who
World Trade Center bomber.
That's right, a World Trade Center bomber. Adjacent guy who an imam who was a radical anti-American, the sort who should not even be in this country, and that's who Mamdani felt the need to be seen with.
Well,
but you know what? You wanted to talk about
the debate.
So let's talk about the debate.
Yes. Well, who do you think won?
Oh, I know it was Curtis Sliwa. Absolutely. Curtis Sliwa had the best policies, the best realistic outlook for the New Yorkers, for New York City, and the only problem was Sliwa, uncharacteristically, I've met him 4 times this year at various events, he was a little tired, but he is 71. So that took away from it. Mamdani, being half the age of both the men there, he had a lot of energy. He was very practiced. He was so theatrical.
But he was a little obnoxious. You know, he was.
Absolutely.
He was. You could hear the smugness.
Yeah, but he's running for New York City mayor. I mean, a little smugness, is part of the job, And, regarding Curtis, first off, Curtis without a beret. I thought he kind of looked distinguished. It was almost Giuliani-esque, a dapper man, right? It was like, I've been watching this guy since the 1980s. I liked that look. And I thought he did great. I think he won a lot of votes.
I think so.
I think that people who weren't going to vote for Zohran and on the fence about Cuomo, I think he's going to pick up some votes.
But the thing that came after the debate, I think lots of people thought he won, including me.
Yeah, I thought Curtis won.
But he's still trailing Cuomo significantly, and one of them has to get out of the race. And the automatic response to what happened was for Republican PACs and conservatives to start calling on Curtis to withdraw.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
All right, I believe it's not going to happen.
And it shouldn't happen.
I think it should happen because I think Cuomo is the scum of the earth, but I would vote for him because he's the lesser of the evils.
I will never vote for Cuomo. He is not a lesser evil. He is just as much evil. He killed 16,000 New Yorkers, American citizens. He lied to the public and provided a cover-up of his actions. And he went into, Letitia James went in looking at 7 accusations of sexual assault and came out with 13.
Okay, you know what? I don't disagree with anything you've just said. It's all true. He killed those 16,000 seniors.
Absolutely.
I believe his reason was because he wanted to create death so they could shut down the United States. I think he was doing this in tandem with people like Nancy Pelosi and Dr. Fauci.
And yet you would vote for him.
I would vote for him because I think that's in the past, and the future under Mamdani is so tragic, both economically, in terms of his policies, and as a Jew. I find it. I think he is a jihadist. I think his views are very clearly pro-Hamas. He has not even hesitated to make that clear.
Well, he's definitely backed away from a lot of things he said in the past.
Because he got in trouble.
So now he's lying. Now he's lying.
I understand. But during the debate, my favorite moment, Cuomo's main argument is, of course, he has no experience and he's not going to be able to handle a crisis. And he brought up 9/11, and then he brought up COVID. But then Mamdani came right back at him and said, "Oh, you are the guy who sent thousands of old people to their deaths."
Which is true.
and you're the guy they want to put in charge for
and then
a pandemic.
Came up and also clarified that neither of them were actually the best candidate. He was. And to answer
he used that great phrase, the architect and the apprentice.
Which was perfect.
That was
perfect summation. But the thing is, when people are looking at this, we often say in modern politics that we have to pick the lesser of evils because we have had such apathetic candidates overall in almost every election across the country. The answer isn't pick the lesser of evils, then you pick the best person. If that means you write that person in, if that means you go against your party, it means you vote for the best person. Cuomo is not that. It definitely, damn
You know what?
it isn't Mamdani.
Until quite recently, I agree with you. I have been thinking, he's going to lose anyway, go with principle. And that's vote for Curtis.
Yes.
But now I think if there's even a sliver of a chance of avoiding the Mamdani mayorality, you have to do it.
No. Look, if New Yorkers are so interested in free stuff that they decide to sell their soul to Zohran Mamdani, where every single policy that he has presented us has failed, has factually, empirically failed everywhere in the nation that he has stolen it from, his copy-paste ideas, then we really deserve what's going to happen to us. People should not be voting for him. He compared New York City to Eugene, Oregon, a small town of 200,000 people, and said, hey, let's go with their cahoots program, which is social workers as police officers. Guess what? That program ended April 2025. It cost money, and it failed to serve the people.
I read an interesting thing that explained what New Yorkers are doing. It made the point that the majority of people who are voting for him are foreign-born New Yorkers, are people who came to this city from elsewhere. So they don't.
How could that be?
No, because he's running at 60% with people who are not native-born, whereas real New Yorkers, native-born New Yorkers, are he's running at 25% ish, well behind Cuomo. So this is not going to help Curtis, but it's behind Cuomo because you know what? If you remember 9/11, you're not voting for a jihadist.
Well, again, I'm not comfortable with that label for Zohran. Now you can criticize his policies and the socialism, but the fact is he is talking about affordability in New York. His solutions, you might not agree with them, but at least he's proposing something. With Andrew Cuomo, you're going to get more of the same, more of the big real estate giveaways, more of the displacement of working New Yorkers, more closing small businesses. It's going to be the same old New York City.
I'm sorry, it's not, because if someone says, hey, I got a great idea how to heat your home, let's set it on fire. Yes, the house will be warm until it's gone. And that's what we're looking at.
I'm explaining not as a policy, but the politics of it. People want to change this town, and they're not going to get any change with Andrew Cuomo.
Politics is policy.
I think
There's
Andrew
no
Cuomo
difference.
is going to do the exact same thing that Zohran Mamdani says he's going to do. I think Andrew Cuomo is going to build a bunch of affordable housing, whether he does it through big real estate or not, and he will hire 5,000 cops. So I think 5,000 cops is enough.
He won't hire 5,000 cops. He'll promise it and then won't deliver. He won't build the housing. He'll promise it, but he won't deliver. And
no, you know what? One thing you can say about Cuomo, he has delivered on a bunch of big projects.
That his good friends are connected to and his donor base are in. But he doesn't have that network anymore. So I don't think he
built
can
the
pull
Second
it off.
Avenue subway. He built the new LaGuardia Airport. He's good at that kind of. He built the Tappan Zee Bridge.
As governor, where he had a network of donors that he could go and
He has a
help
big
out.
network of donors now. He's got all the billionaires in the city are behind him.
I don't think it's the same scenario as when he was in governor, where he had far more power and far more ability to be corrupt without being held accountable. I think, to answer one thing you mentioned about Zohran, and the question about foreign-born individuals, how could they be voting for him? It's easy.
No. More like, there are plenty of native-born New Yorkers, Jews included, who voted for Zohran in that Democratic primary.
And probably a few illegal
And they're going
aliens.
to vote for him again in the general
And
election.
more than a few illegal aliens as well. Let's not forget that we have a corrupt system.
Lots of young white college graduates who come to New York, who are not making a lot of money, who are never going to make a lot of money, who are not comfortable.
That demographic voted for Zoran. Oh my God, they put him over the top, actually.
And those people, they're always here. They always come. They stay for a few years, and then they go back to Cleveland and have their kids in the suburbs.
It is absolutely true. And it's because of the indoctrination of our education system, where they're taught, one of the fun things, applications of CRT, critical race theory, where you have to be evil just because you were born the way you were, and I have to be a victim, and I have no way to escape that without having government, which is a racist and just evil way of looking at
We've got
individuals.
1 minute left, so let's wrap up.
I'm sorry.
All right.
No.
Predictions.
I think you'll see Mamdani will win. You'll see probably Sliwa take second place.
Wow, that's a bold prediction.
I'm going to say Mamdani wins and Cuomo takes second place.
Mamdani wins. Curtis is not dropping out. Not after that debate, especially now, because he's hearing it. But he won the debate, I wouldn't say Curtis is going to come in second, but he's going to outperform anybody's expectations.
Thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll be back after the election, and hopefully things don't go as badly as we think they're going to.